Hello again, and we are back again with the Kursk Pint-Sized campaign for Chain of Command. This is now scenario 5. We're soon getting through this particular campaign. This one's called Escape to Victory because simply the Soviets have to get as many of their casualties off the table as possible before the Germans can close the noose around them. The Germans are now fighting an encirclement battle, and this is on the edge of it. Pretty simple layout here. There's very little, couple of hills, a road, some trees, some grass, scrub grass, and a building, and that is literally it. Another open step, very simple to set up scenario, this one. But I'll show you the board in a little bit more detail, show you those jumping off points. We'll have a look at the figures, and then we'll see if the Soviets can actually escape to victory. Okay, so this is the table. As I said, this is actually a very simple setup, one of the easiest ones I've ever had to do. Just a few trees and a little house on the prairie steps. This is a flank attack by the Germans. The Soviets, their patrol phase started in its back corner, and they were only able to place 3 jumping off points, and they're on this edge of the table here. You can see this one down here is probably going to be the one that they're going to be bringing their carts out of, because they've got to get the carts off this table edge here. The Germans, on the other hand, were able to place 4 jumping off points, and they were able to actually almost outflank the Soviets. So they've got a couple here which are kind of opposite the Soviet one on the end, and then they've got a couple more up on this end here. There's not a great deal more to say about this table, really. This is as it is, and this is what they're going to be fighting over. So, as I say, the Germans have really got to stop those wagons getting off, or obviously not allow their morale to drop to 0. So the Germans have gone and they've taken their C platoon. This is Unterfeldwebel Werner Fischer, their senior leader here. These have lost in total 5. They've had 3 killed in action, and 2 are currently missing until the next day, which is going to be, in campaign terms, it's going to be the next scenario, scenario 6. So they've got their 3 sections here, each again of 2 teams of the LMG and a rifle, or a couple of rifles, and then also their junior leader in each one of those. They also rolled pretty poorly actually for their support options, so they were only able to bring forward an old light infantry gun 18, an IEG I think it is 18. So they've got that, but that's a little bit of good heavy firepower at least, so it should be okay. Soviets, on the other hand, they have been absolutely battered throughout this campaign so far, even though they withdrew last time. So they've now got 2 full sections. Each of these have still got their 2 LMGs, and then they've got this smaller section now, which only has 5 men, 1 LMG, but it also has 2 junior leaders attached, just to bulk up the numbers of figures in there. We've also got our senior leader, of course. They also have, in this scenario, a 45mm anti-tank gun. Unfortunately, it is immobilised, so they're really at desperate measures at this point. And they also have 3 carts as well of wounded. Now they've got to get at least 2 of these off the eastern edge of the table, by hook or by crook. They only move at 1d6 each. They will activate either on a team if they're on their own, or they can activate as a section if they're within 4 inches of each other on the table. The Soviets will only win by either getting 2 of these off, or by reducing the Germans' morale to 0 as usual. So with that in mind, let's have a look at this game. Right, I rolled the force morale for both sides, and both sides ended up with 11 on their force morale. So might be quite a long game if the Soviets have to reduce the Germans' force morale to 0. But let's see. They might get those carts off anyway. So let's start with the Germans. Their first roll. So they've got a double 2, so that is retaining the phase anyway. A 3, a 1, and a 5. So the 5 is a chain of command point. So that starts them off all right. As I said, they retain the phase. So 3 is a junior leader, and 1 is a team. So the Germans haven't done a great deal. They've brought on with their 1 team, they brought on their infantry gun to guard the exit of the table on this end over here. They've also brought on a section with their junior leader. Because they've got a junior leader, he was able to put them onto Overwatch as well. So they are now directly looking at the Soviets' positions over there. What I'm trying to do with the Germans here really is just to try to close down those jumping off points of the Soviets before they get a chance to move. I don't think it's going to work, but at least if they're covering them, they're halfway there. So the Germans have their double phase. So we see what we get for that. So 5 gives them another chain of command points. Then we have a 2, section 3, junior leader, a 4, a senior leader. So actually they could bring on their entire force at this point and just start moving against those Soviets. Okay, in this one what we've done is we've used the junior leader to push forward this section again, put them back on Overwatch. So again they're still covering that jumping off points. We've also brought on the 2 other sections using those section dice, and the senior leader as well, who has used his command initiatives to instruct both this section and this section to lay down smoke grenades. So they've got those out in front of them, so at least it's given them some cover from when the Soviets do eventually appear. And now speaking of the Soviets, it's their first phase. Okay, so we got 3 6s that ends the turn, and it also gives them 2 chain of command points because they've got 2 5s there as well. They also retain the phase. It ends a turn, so what happens is all the smoke disappears, as do all the Overwatch markers. So that's pretty good. That's banjacks the Germans' plans almost immediately. But they get that second phase as well. So let's see what happens with that. 6 alone does nothing for the Soviets, but we have 2 2s, a 1 and a 3, so that's a junior leader, a team and 2 sections, so they may be able to bring on one of those carts with some protection as well. As the Germans have revealed their hand, the Soviets have brought on a section on the end there to start firing at the Germans on the hill or in the valley base. They've brought on 2 of their sections over here, again to hammer this German section here, and they've also brought on, using that one, one of their carts to try to get it off the table as quick as possible. They've got to act fast in this game, and that's what they're trying to do. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at some of the firing. Okay, in this particular scenario, the Soviets don't really care about their own casualties. It's about getting these carts off the board. They've got a fresh platoon that's coming in for the next scenario anyway, so this is just about causing as many casualties on the Germans to blunt their chances for the next couple of scenarios. So our first smaller section, firing with its LMG and rifles. At these, they're in the open. 4, 5 and 6 to hit, then a 5 and 6 is a kill if they for any hits. 4, 5 is shock. So let's see what we get. I was just about to say I'm expecting this to be quite a lot, but we don't have any. Well, we have 2. So that's 2 hits. There's 2 teams, 1 hit on each team. So the first team over here, they have taken a shock. The second team has nothing. So absolutely desultory fire from the first Soviet section, but the second Soviet section is doing the same again. 4, 5s and 6s to hit. Let's have a look. So we got 1, 2, 3. This is a bit more like it. Get rid of all our misses rather than the other way around. So that is 5, 10 hits. So 5 on each team. So the first team, the one with the shock already. Let's have a look what happens to them. They have taken 2 more shock, 3 more shock, should I say. So that puts them straight up to 4. So they're taking shock with no kills. And then the second team over here, they have taken 1 kill and 2 shock. So let's put that 2 shock on. This is not as good as it could have been. Let's see if that hit is on the junior leader, or one, and it is. No, it's not, so it's on one of their rifles. Over here we've got the Soviets are firing at the ones on the hill because there's a senior leader in there, so there's a chance of possibly hitting him as well. We're looking at 5s and 6s to hit this time because of the range, so let's go with that. See what we've got. Not a great number actually. 1, 2, 3, 4 hits this time, and again there's 2 teams over there, so let's see which is which. They're in the open, so 4, 5, 6s are kills. So for the first team on the left, 4 is 1 shock, 3, 4 for the shock. So that's on there. And then the second team, another 2 hits on those. So that's a kill and a shock this time. So it could be the junior or it could be the senior leader. Let's just see if that kill is on one of them. 1, it has hit one of them. 1 to 3, it's the junior leader. 4 to 6, it's the senior leader. So it's hit the junior leader. So what's happened to him? 1, he's killed outright, otherwise he's wounded. That's a 5, so that is lightly wounded. So that means he is now reduced to 1 initiative instead of the 2. It's also a bad things happen roll as well for the Germans. So let's do that. Junior leader hit, wounded, should I say. A 4 is he has -1 point on their force morale, so that brings them down to 10 already. So not bad firing there for the Soviets on this side at least. Okay, the Germans are starting to rack up hits already, so they're going to roll an extra dice from their pool of dice. Put that in to hopefully give them a little bit more choice for this phase. Oh, let's just re-roll that. So that's a 2. So the 5 gives them a chain of command points and another chain of command points, so that takes them to 4 at least, so we can get rid of those. Then we also have 2 2s, sections, a 3 and a 1, so junior leader and a team. So a pretty good selection actually. They can do some firing back with that, which is probably just what they need at this point. So the Germans, with that roll, they could do quite a lot, but they were also slightly restricted. So what they've done is their junior leader over here has reduced shock by 1, and then he's getting the section to fire at the closest Soviet section. They've also given their team to the infantry gun over here, which is also going to be firing at one of the Soviet sections over there. Unfortunately, because the sections are in front of the cart, we can't fire at the cart at this point. And then they've also given their 2 other section rolls to the sections on the right hand flank, and we'll deal with them in a second because they're going to fire at the Soviets on that flank. So first of all, starting with these ones, looking at 4, 5, 6s to hit. So let's remove all our misses, and those 2 sections, actually everything is within 4 inches of each other over there. So I think I'm going to count it all because they're just going to be piling fire into that area. So there's 3 sections really, well 2 sections and the cart, so they're all going to take hits. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 hits, so that's going to be 3 hits on each of those different elements. So we'll start with the section on the right hand side nearest the building. They're in the open, so 5, 6s are kills. What we've got 5 and a 4, so that's a kill and a shock. So let's just get those on quickly so I remember. Our second section, the one in front of the cart, this one is oh sorry, let me just roll for that junior leader, I've completely forgot. A 1 and he's hit, no he's not. So the second section, again taking 3 hits, so a kill and a shock again. Let's see if it's a junior leader. There are 2 in there actually. No it's not, so it's just another rifleman. And then finally we've got the cart. Now the cart has got 4 people in it. It's in light cover. If all 4 are killed, then the cart is destroyed, and that's 1 off. So they're in light cover though, so a 6 is a kill, 4, 5 is shock. So that's just 1 shock on the cart, thankfully for the Soviets. So that was the infantry firing, and now we've got the SIG gun, the IEG. This is firing 4, 5s, 6s to hit, same again because it's firing into that group. They're all within 4 inches of each other, so they could all be affected. So let's have a look. 4, 5, 6, there's only 1 hit out of that. So let's put that on the centre section, just because. No, I'll tell you what, let's roll for it. So 1, 2, it's the section closest to the house. 3, 4, it's the middle one. 5, 6, it's the cart. That's more fair. So it's the middle one, as I said. It reduces cover. They're in the open anyway. 6 to that, it's a kill. Is it the junior leader? No, it's not. So it's another rifle. Okay, and then we've got the 2 German section rolls. They're firing at the Soviet section over there. Again, just trying to reduce the number of figures on the table, really. First section here, firing away. 5s and 6s are hits. So, not a huge number here, despite the amount of firing going on. That's 6 hits. from that section, so let's just see what that does. They're in the open, so 5/6 of kills anyway. And that's 1 point of shock. Absolutely terrible firing there for the Germans. Let's see if this section can do any better. At least causing more than 1 shock. So we've got, again, 5s and 6s of hits. So getting rid of all of these. Take out all our misses. That's down to 4 now. Same again though, 6 in the open. 5/6 is a kill because they're in the open. So we've got a shock and a kill. There's a junior leader in there. Let's see if he's hit. For 1 he is. No, he's not, so it's a rifleman and another shock. So back to our Soviets. They need some teams on here so they can get those wagons rolling. 6/6, so that's good. That gives them a next phase. 5 gives them another chain of command points, so that's up to 3 now. They've got a 1, which is really what they needed. A 3 is a junior leader as well. Okay, so they've moved the cart forward. Unfortunately, because of the shock, they were only actually able to move it 1 inch forward. But it's inching closer to that edge. They then use their junior leader here. He has reduced shock, and then he's getting them to fire at these Germans in the open as well. So we're looking at 5s and 6s to hit in the first instance. Let's see what we got. Oh, that's a lot of 5s and 6s I can see in there. So we have hits with 2, 4, 6. So that's going to be 3 on each team. So we'll do the first team down here. This one with 2 shocks, so they're in the open, so that's a shock and a kill. So let's see if that is on their junior leader. Let's test that. No, it's not, so it's a rifleman. I've already got a kill here, so I'm just going to remove those 2 there from that base, just to tidy things up a bit. And then the 3 hits on this section over here, this team, should I say. So again, that's another kill and another shock. So their shock is now on 7 combined. And they've also lost another one, so they're now pinned. So a 1, it's junior leader. No, it's another infantryman. So they now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 men in there, 7 shocks. So yeah, they're pinned. So the Soviets retaining the phase. It's their next turn. So that 5 gives them another chain of command points. Although that's certainly racking them up, which is good. Then they also have 2 2s, a 3, and a 1. So again, they can shift that cart, and they can also get the rest of their sections firing as well. The Soviets aren't having a great deal of luck with the movement of these carts, but what they've done is use the junior leader here to reduce the shock on the cart, because they are currently attached anyway, so within 4 inches of each other. So, but then it rolled to move, and it only rolled a 1, so it's inching slowly forward. Then the junior leader is also getting this section to fire, and then this section is firing as well, just as a normal section. So we're going to start with the smaller one. The Germans are pinned, so they are now in light cover, because their cover increases by 1 because of their pinned status. But we're looking at 4, 5, 6s to hit. So we've got 1, 2, 3 hits, again across those two sections, so it makes no real difference. We'll put 1 on that one and 2 on the other one. No, it does make a difference. So the Germans are in cover, so they get to choose. So they're going to put 1 on the hit the team there with only 1 with 1 casualty. So let's see what happens. A 4 is that takes that shock then up to 5, and then the other team over here, no kills. So 5, 6s are kills. 6s are kills. 4, 5 is shock. So 2 2s is nothing. So they got away with that one. However, the Soviets have their second section firing, and they're firing with 2 LMGs and their rifles. 4, 5, 6s to hit, but again they're in light cover. So we've got 1, 2. That's a cocked dice, cocked onto the 5. So that's 4 hits. So same again, 2 on each. So for the first section, first team down here. Light cover, 6 is a kill, 4, 5 shock. So that's a shock and nothing. 3 becomes 4. We'll have to count up how much shock they've got at this point, because they may be close to breaking. And the second one, same again, 6 is a kill. That 1 does nothing. Let's roll to see if it's there. junior leader. No, it's not, so it's one of the riflemen, so that's reduced them by another one. So it's not the rifleman, it is the LMG team guy, so that reduces that fire down to 6 instead of 8. So let's just check how many figures we've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in there. They're on 9, so any more kills or any more shock on that team and they will break. Currently they're just holding on. So we've got the third Soviet section now, firing across again at the guys on the hill. So let's see, we're looking at 5s and 6s to hit this time due to the range. So we've got, let's get rid of our misses. That's the always easiest way. That's a lot of hits for that range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 5 on each team. There's no real difference here, apart from these. No, they both got. This one's made up of 3 men. This one's made up of 4 men. So it makes no difference. We'll start with the 4 men here, but we do have a junior and a senior leader that could potentially get hit if they're killed. They're in the open, so 5s and 6s are kills. So we've got 2 kills and a shock. That's on this first one. We'll get that shock on first of all. Then we've got to see if one of those leaders is hit off those 2 kills. 1 or a 2, and he is. Yes. 1 to 3 junior, 4 to 6 senior. So it's a senior leader. See what happens to him. A 1 he's killed. A 6 he's wounded. So the wound will require a bad things happen table. This is a senior leader wounded. A 3 and a senior leader wounded is 1 point off the German morale. So that's now taken them down to 9. And then we also have that other kill. And then we have to roll for the 5 other hits on the other team as well. 5, 6 kills. As we know, 4, 5 is shock. 3, 4 is shock. So that's 3 shock on them. So that's taken them up to 6. How many figures we got in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, including him. So we're not so bad at the moment. Right, the Germans are taking some hits here, so they're going to have to step it up a bit. So they're going to chuck in another dice, see what they can do with that. So we've got a 6, which on its own does nothing, but in this scenario it gives them a chain of command points. They've got another 5, so that gives them another chain of command points. So that's pretty useful for interrupting the opponent's turn. They've got a 4, which is a senior leader, who is slightly wounded, but at least he can do something. Then they also have 2 1s, another 4, which is pretty useless on its own because they don't have a second senior leader. The 2 1s may be made into a section or even a team, or 2 teams. So over here the Germans have given out a 1 to the team here and another 1 to the team with the infantry gun as well. So the machine gun over here is firing first of all. It's pinned, so it's halved its dice, but they're just firing into this bunch of Soviets down here. 4, 5, 6 is a hit, so they've got 3 hits. That's 1 hit on each team. Oh, sorry, on each section. So first section near the hut, they're in the open, so a 4 is a shock. The second team, the middle team there, 5 is a kill. So let's see if that's on the junior leader. There's 2 in there again. No, it's not, so it's another rifleman has been hit there. And then that final hit is on the cart. So light cover, so a 6 is a kill this time. No effect whatsoever. However, they've got their infantry gun, which is also firing. Same again, same target. So this time's 4, 5, 6s to hit, as before actually. So 1, 2, that's 3 hits. So again, 1 hit on each, working our way through them. They're in the open for the effects of HE. So the first one, 2 does nothing to them. The middle section, a 4 is another shock. And then on the cart, light cover, but it's reduced because they're firing with an infantry gun. A 6, so that's 1 kill on the cart. Then meanwhile on this flank, the wounded senior over here, he has reduced shock on this section. Well, on this team here, he's also ordered this team to move forward, and then with his final activation, he's got this team to fire at, well, this section to fire at the Soviets over there. So they're going to do that. 5s and 6s are hits in this case, so we'll get rid of our misses. See how many that leaves us with. Not a great number, 5. but they are in the open, so 5s and 6s are kills. So that's 2 kills and 2 shock as well. Let's see if that kill is on their junior leader. No, it's not, so it's 2 more rifles and the 2 shock. And we're straight back in with these Soviets. Let's see what they get out of this. 6 does nothing on its own, but they have a team and 3 junior leaders, so that's pretty useful actually. So our first junior leader over here has reduced shock, and then he's getting these guys to fire at the German section again on the top of the hill. Try to at least hit some of those junior leaders if they can, and they've got their eye on this one coming in. But let's have a look. We're looking at 5s and 6s, so not a great many, but at least it's keeping the Germans' heads down. So there's 4 hits, 2 on each team. So the team on the left hand side, this one here first of all, 2 hits, 5s and 6s, they're in the open, 3 is 1 shock. So that takes them up to 3. No other effect, and then the other team, 5s and 6s again, a kill, so a kill and nothing. Let's see if it's on one of the leaders, a 1, and it is. No, it's not, so it's on one of the riflemen. Okay, over on this side, the Soviets again have tried to move their wagon forward. This time it only did 2 inches, so that's going really well so far. Then they're going to fire with this section, junior leader, he's reduced shock, and this section, that junior leader has also reduced shock. So the first one over here, it's only firing 6. Germans are in light cover because they're still pinned. We're looking at 4 5s and 6s to hit in the first instance, so that's only 2 hits. 2 hits might be enough to break them, you never know. 1 hit on each team, so the first team on the right hand side. The 3 is another shock, so that takes them up to 5. Let's have a look, see if that has broken them yet. I'm not sure if it has. So we've got 5, we've got 10 shock at the moment, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 men in there. So 1 more shock and they will be broken. And then the other team, 5 is a kill, so that's enough to take to drop them down below their need for shock. But let's just see if it's their junior leader. Sorry, not shock, they're to break. It's not the junior leader, so it's actually wiped out that team because there was only 1 man left in there anyway. So that takes away that shock. They now have 5 shock against 4 men, so they're still pinned, but they're not actually broken yet. But we still haven't finished firing against them because we've got this second section firing its 2 LMGs at that final remaining team. So we've got 4 5s and 6s is what we're looking for. So we'll take all the missings out. So we've got a goodly number there. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hits this time. They are pinned, so 6 is the kills, 4, 5 is shock. So what we've got 1 kill, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shocks. Well, that's going to break them definitely, if nothing else. We've got that kill as well. Let me just stick that 5 shock on so I know it's there. So we're currently on 10 with 4 men in there, so they are broken. Let's see if that 1 kill is on their junior leader. 2, no it's not, so it's on one of their rifles. They are broken. They will fall back 2d6 plus 6 inches, but they also have to roll on the bad things happen table. That's down as team breaks, so a 4 is minus another point on the German force morale. Right, the Germans, next phase. We have a bit of a mix here, so we've got 2, a 2, a 2, a 1, a team, so that's 3 sections, junior leader and a senior leader. So at least we can do some reduction of some shock and do a bit of movement and firing, I think. Okay, what we've done is we've used the section dice to move these further forward. I know they're in an exposed position, but I wanted to get them close to be able to do some damage on these Soviets at some point. The senior and the junior leader roles, I did think about using them on the shattered team over there, but there's probably not a great deal of points at this point. They're pretty much dead. So the senior leader and the junior leader have both reduced shock down to 1 on these 2 teams, and then the senior leader is also using one of his activations to fire again against this Soviet section down here. So we're looking at 5s and 6s to hit, and let's see what we've got. Remove all our misses. That's not such a bad number for the range. So we've got 6 hits on those Soviets there. There is actually, I think there's only 6 men left in there anyway. They're in the open, and so 5s and 6s are kills. Let's have a look. So we've got 5 and 2 shock. So that's taking their shock up to 5. Sorry, I wasn't a 5, that was a 6. So that's 1 kill and 2 shock. So that kill, is it on their junior leader? No, it's not. So it's another rifleman. They're okay with their shock against the kills at the moment though. And then the final thing the Germans are doing in this turn is firing that infantry gun again at the Soviet sections and the cart. So the cart can't be separated, can't be targeted separately because it's still within 4 inches of those sections. So they're firing now at all of them anyway. So 4, 5, 6 are hits because it's HE. So we've got 1, 2, 3 hits. So 1 hit on each of these again. So we'll start with the first one. They're in the open. So 3 is 1 shock. So they keep taking shock, but they keep reducing it. The next one, a 4 is another shock. So again, they just reduced that last turn. And then finally on that cart itself, they're in light cover, so a 6 is a kill this time. A 2 does nothing to the cart. So they managed to get away with that. Okay, are the Soviets able to strike back? Let's have a look. We've got a 6, does nothing on its own. 5 gives them a chain of command point. So that's gone. So they've got 2 junior leaders and a team. Okay, the junior leader over here has reduced shock, and then he's getting his section of the 2 LMGs to fire across now at this team, this section of Germans as they advance, because they're getting a bit close. So we need 4, 5s and 6s to hit. Let's look at what we got. It's not a great number, so that's 4 hits and 2 teams there. So first team, each of these is made up of, well, one is made up of 3 men, one is made up of 4 men. So we'll do the 3-man first. 4 and 3 is 2 shock first of all, so I'll just put that dice down to remember. And then the second team, 4, so that's another shock. No kills. Meanwhile on this side, the cart used the team and it's moved, but again it's only moved 1 inch. It has literally not rolled above 1 this entire game. However, these junior leader over here has reduced shock, and they are now firing at the infantry gun. So they're firing at 5s and 6s, and they're in light cover because they're in the infantry gun behind the shield anyway. So let's have a look at what we've got. We're looking at 5s and 6s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits, and that's all on that one team. So let's see, light cover, 6 is a kill, 4, 5 shock. Oh, 3 kills, wow. No, and 3 kills and no shock. So let's see if that's on the junior leader, if he's the one. Yes, he's hit. What happens to him? A 6, he is wounded, so it's not as bad as it could have been, but that is definitely a bad things happen roll. 6, -1 from the Germans' force morale. And while it's still the Soviets' turn, I kept forgetting to do it. The Germans are spending a chain of command points to interrupt the Soviets' turn, but they're doing it afterwards. A bit of a punishment for forgetting, and they're getting this section to fire down on the remains of this section here after they've been fired at. So this is what they're doing with their chain of command dice. So 4, 5, 6 as a hits. Let's see if this is effective or not. Let's have a look. We've got a number of hits there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hits. There's 4 men left in that section. They're in the open. 5, 6 are the kills. Let's see what we get. We've got 1, 2 kills, and another 3 shock on them. So they've already got 4. So that's taking them up to 7. They have 2 kills. One of those could be the junior leader. Let's have a look. A 5 is no, it's on their normal rifleman. However, they have 3 men left, and they currently have 7 shock. So that team is actually broken. So they will fall back 2d6. And sorry, it's a team is broken. So we have to see what happens. A 6 minus 2 points on their force morale. They fall back 2d6 plus 6 inches. So that's 11 inches off. So they've actually got off the table. There's no more force morale rolls for that, but it has destroyed that flank. Okay, the Germans may have hammered the Soviet flank, but they've got to take advantage of this. So they're going to use up their last dice to try to get as much moving as possible. Right, 2 6s. That is good because that gives them a double phase. The 4 is their senior leader. And then they have a 2, another senior leader, so it's a section and a team. That probably works out not too bad actually. That's pretty good for them. Okay, this has been a slightly complex move, so I'm going to explain it. What's happened is the Germans have used their junior leader. They combined the 2 and the 1 for this guy here. He reduced shock and then got this section to move out the double towards those jumping off points. So if we can get those closed down, there's a lot of chain of force morale that can be lost on the Soviet side there. So they've moved forward. They've taken shock because they moved out the double. Over here, our senior leader, using his first activation, activated this section here to move forward to get these into a position to start to fire down there. They just moved their normal move, so 2d6. He then moved himself up to 3d6. He got this far, and he was then just in range to get the infantry gun also to fire. So quite complicated, but we got there using the command initiatives of the leaders. So over here we've got our infantry gun firing. Again, firing all 3 of these because the cart is still within 4 inches of these sections. So let's just see what happens. 4, 5, 6 are hits. So we've got 1, 2, 3 hits. So same again, 1 hit on each of these. So we'll work our way through. First one on this section. A 3 is 1 shock. So that shock they keep taking off, keeps coming back for them. So that's their 1 shock. Then we have this section here. A 1 is nothing, and then we have on the cart itself a 5, so that's another kill on that cart. No, sorry, it's light cover. No, it's reduced because they're firing with an infantry gun, so it reduces cover anyway, so that's another kill on the cart. So the Germans are on with that next phase, because they continued. Oh, that's not great. So we got a 1, a 1, a 1, a 1 and a 3. So we've got junior leader, and that could be the senior commander, so he could at least get that gun firing again, or we could turn that into 2 junior leaders and the gun as well. Let's have a think about that one. Right, so we've got some firing coming in here. I'm using the junior leader, combined 3 dice into a junior leader. Over there, he is using his activation to fire at this group here. He can hit them, he can't hit this section here, so all the hits are going to be between this section and the cart itself, which is what they want. And then I'm using a team to activate the infantry gun. The final 3, the other junior leader was the guy on the end, and he has ordered his men to run as fast as they can again towards those jumping off points on that back end. They're trying to close those down as quick as possible. So we'll start with the infantry gun. We're hitting on 4, 5s and 6s. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 hits this time. This is spread across these 3 here. The Soviets are not in cover, so the Germans get to choose where those 2 extra hits will go. That extra hit will go, so obviously they're going to put it on the cards. So 1 hit on each of these. So we'll start with this section. They're in the open, so 4 is a shock. So let's put them up again. These ones here, same again, in the open. A 2 does nothing. and then we've got 2 hits on this cart. 2 and a 1, so that's nothing. They got out of that pretty well. But then we've also got the firing for the guns over there, and these are hitting on 5s and 6s now. And I said this is just going to be spread between these two because they can't actually hit the other ones physically. So 1, 2, and okay, that's a reasonable number. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits. Again, these guys are in the open, but the cart is actually light cover. So that's killing on 6s, shocking on 4, 5s. We'll do the ones in the open. 5, 6s are kills. So we've got 2 more shocks, so that's taking it up to 4, and a kill. Let's see if that kill is on either of those 2 junior leaders there. And one it is, yes, it's on one of them. So let's see what happens to him. It makes no difference which one it is. 4 is wounded, lightly wounded, so we need a roll on the bad things happen. A 1, nothing, no effect. A disliked junior leader. And then we also have another hit as well. 3 hits on this cart. Now again, 6s are kills, 4, 5 shock, because they're in light cover. So 1 shock on the cart, but no kills. It might be slow moving, but it's proven incredibly difficult to actually kill. Okay, back to the Soviets. 3 6s, that ends a turn, retains a phase, and it also gives them a chain of command point, so that drops them up to 6, so they've got a full chain of command now. The end of the turn means that the Germans disappear off. They can bring on their senior leader, which they may well do. So what the Soviets have done is brought on their senior commander here, and he's just reduced shock in these 2 sections here. That's all he's able to do, but they still retain that phase. So let's see what they do with the next one. Let's see what their next roll is. So they're double 6, so that means they retain the phase, and 3 3s, so they have 3 junior leaders, but they only have 2 on the table. They do have another one with an anti-tank gun though. So in desperation, the Soviets have used the junior leader to bring out this AT gun. It's only firing 3 dice, firing at this section in front of it though. So let's have a look. We've got that's 3 hits, sorry. The Germans are not in cover, so the Soviets choose who the hits go on. So they'll put 2 onto that section and 1 on this team here. So this first team, 5s and 6s are kills, 3 is a shock. So that takes that team up to 3. And then 2 hits on this one here. So that's a kill, and nothing is the kill on their junior leader. No, it's not, so it's just on one of the rifles. Right, meanwhile, the 2 junior leaders for the Soviets have managed to reduce all the shock in this area. This first section, well, this section is going to fire over here at the infantry gun, whilst this section is actually taking aim at the Germans coming in there. So we're going to do that first, firing at the Germans in the open. 5s and 6s are hits, and then 4, 5, 6s are kills. So that's 2 hits, 1 on each team. So the team nearest to me is 3, so that's a shock. So that's just taking them up to 2. There we go. And then the other hits on the other team are 3, so another shock as well. So at least it shocks them, if nothing else. And then we have our other section firing 2 LMGs and 3 rifles at the group over there. 5 6s are hits, and they're also in light cover. So we've got 1, 2 hits. That is fantastic. They've got a junior leader who is wounded in there, and they also have 3 crew in total, including our junior leader. Let's see anyway. 6 is kills, 5 is a shock, and the Soviets retain their phase. So let's see what they can do with that. So they retain it again. So another 5 is another chain of command point, and then they've got a 3 and a senior leader as well. So actually that's again a pretty good number of dice there. So over here we've got the Soviet junior leader. I did forget that I've not pinned any of the infantry that have come under fire from artillery. So I've not been doing it for the Soviets, so I'm not going to do it for the Germans over here. But the AT gun is firing with its junior leader. See, 4, 5, 6 as a hits. Not a single hit. It's disappeared off over the landscape. And then back over here, we've got the senior commander. He has ordered these 2 sections to fire, and also ordered the cart to get going as well. So it's actually moved 3 inches this time. What happens there is, though, it has now put it outside of the 4-inch being part of this group. So if the infantry gun fires, it can target it. So what I'm going to do is use the Soviets to fire everything at that infantry gun to try to destroy it as quick as possible. So we're going to do that. I'm going to roll all the dice at once, rather than going through each of the different sections, because they're exactly the same. 5s and 6s are hits, and then they're hitting in soft cover. So let's just see how many it is. This is not really rules as written, but just to hurry up this amount of firing. So we've got 5 hits. So 5 hits on the infantry gun. As I said, there's 3 men left in there, and it's already got some pins on it. So a 6 is a kill, a 5 is another shock, 3 and the 1s do nothing. So let's see if that kill is on the junior leader. No, it's not. So it's on another one of the crew, but it can still fire, and it's the Soviets' phase again. So what we got here, 6 does nothing, so it goes back to the Germans. 5 gives them that chain of command point, very useful. A 4 and a 4 and a 2, so that's a section and 2 senior leaders. That's not such a great roll this time round. Right, doing exactly the same as before, using the senior leader to get these sections to fire that infantry gun. He's got the wagon to move on. It's gone about 4 inches this time, so it's getting closer to the edge at least. But we're looking at 5s and 6s here to hit. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a little bit better. Let's just see how many of those turn into kills. Again, there's only 2 crew left now on that gun. Let's see what happens. So we've got 4s and 5s are shock, so it's just 1 more shock on it. So finally it's the Germans' turn to get a go. Let's see what we get. We've got a 6, which in this scenario gives them a chain of command point. They've also then got 3, a 3, a 3 and a 1, so that's 3 sections, or a senior leader, and 2 sections. That's pretty good actually. However, before they do that, the Soviets are going to interrupt with their chain of command points, and they're going to fire again at that infantry gun. So back here at what seems like the millionth time, the Soviets again, 5s and 6s against that infantry gun. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 hits this time. That's pretty poor going actually, but let's see what happens. As I say, we've still got 2 crew on there. 6 of the kills, and 2 more shock, and nothing else. So the infantry gun has actually now got 5 shock and 2 men on there. So that means it's broken. So it will fall back off the table, 2d6 plus 6 inch. That's going to take it off the table because it's 6 inch to there anyway, and it will just probably disappear off. But let's just see how far it goes. Yes, 9 plus that's 15 inch, so it's off. So we have to roll for it routing off table, for its force morale. 6 is 2 points off the German force morale. Okay, first what we're going to do here, the Germans are using their junior leader to use 2 command initiatives, and they're going to hand grenade and the light gun, and then try to attack it. It's within 12 inches, so they'll throw their hand grenades. We roll a d6. They're in light cover because they're hiding behind the shield. So they get a -1, and this tells us how many grenades actually hit. Each one will then hit with 2 dice of damage. So let's see first of all how many hit. 6 minus 1 is 5, so that's 3 hand grenade hits. So each of those hits with 2 damage, 2 points each. These are then in the open because they are for the purposes of this, because I've already done the light cover for them. So 5, 6s are kills. And that has just caused 2 shock on that gun. They then roll 3d6 to see if they can move into combat with them. They minus their 3-inch off, so they're actually only moving 3 inches forward. And that takes them to there. It's just within 4 inch. It's a gnat's whisker of 4 inches, so I'm going to allow this combat to go ahead. Give me a minute to work out the dice, and then we'll come back into it. So I've run the numbers. The Germans have come out with 7 dice, whereas the Soviets have got 11. Possibly a little bit of a mistake on the Germans' part. The hand grenade really should have done a bit more effective work, but it did what it did. So we roll the dice. 5s and 6s are kills, with 6 being a shock as well. So let's just see what happens. They need to kill 5 Soviets to take out that gun. Is it going to happen? No, it's not. So that's 2 kills with 2 shock as well. So then we have to work out the difference in these numbers. Let's see what happens with the Soviets. We've got, let's get rid of all our non-hits. So that's 4 kills with 1 shock. So let's just stick a shock on there so we remember first of all. And then we've got 4 kills as well in there. So we've got to now roll for those leaders. There's a leader in both of these to see if they are the ones that are killed or hit at least. So let's see. So first of all, for the Germans, they got 5 kills. So let's see. 4, yes, their junior leader is hit. The Soviets, they took 2 kills, 2 casualties, and their junior leader is hit as well. Ooh, this is going to get a bit messy. Right, so we've got a junior leader hit on the German side. So let's see what happens to him first of all. A 2 is he's wounded. And he is wounded till the end of the turn. So he can't activate again. The Soviet, he is lightly wounded. We're going to have to do some rolls for this here. So the Soviets take another casualty there. And then the Germans lose 3 men as well. So 1, 2, and 3 from here. So that was... No, they lost 5, didn't they? Because they lost the 5 men. He took a hit, so they've lost 4 in fact. So that's them 2 gone as well. So that's that team off. So we're now down to this team here and the junior leader. The Germans were defeated by 3. So they run away 12 inches and they add 2 points of shock onto that team. So that is then going to break that team because there's only 3 men. No, there's 3 men, 5 shock. So they're okay, but they run away 12 inches. So these are now over here somewhere, facing away from the enemy, taking that kill with them and their leader. So the Soviets stood it. Good for them. And they protected those jumping off points. We've just got one last thing to do here. Rolling for the bad things happen. For the Germans, for the junior leader wounded, nothing. And for the Soviets, nothing as well. So the last thing the Germans are going to do this turn, in this phase should I say, is they're firing this section. They brought in their senior leader, he came over, reduced shock, their junior leader reduced shock, and then got them to fire as well. So they're firing out the cart, it can be now separately targeted. So they're doing so. 5s and 6s because of the range. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hits. It can take 2 more kills and it's destroyed. But let's see what happens. 6 of the kills because it is light cover. So we've taken 1 kill and 1 shock on it. God, it is lasting forever. Right, the Soviets' next phase is, we've got 5, so that's a chain of command point. Get that out of there. So then we've got a 1, 3 1s, and a 2. Wow, that's quite a spread. But they should be able to do something with those. As these Germans fall back, they're using a 1 for this team of the anti-tank gun. That is going to fire at the Germans there. It's actually only rolling 1 dice because it's got 4 shock on it, so that reduces the dice by 2. But it might hit. 4, 5, 6. No, it's missed. But at least they got a shot. Meanwhile, on this side of the table, the Soviets have moved forward with this wagon. It's only moved another inch again. This one they brought on with one of their teams, their one, so they're trying to get these. If they can get at least 2 off this table edge, they win. And then they're also getting this section over here to fire at the Germans in the open over there. So they're just firing a LMG, 5s and 6s are hits. So we've got 1, 2 hits. So they're in the open for 5 or 6 are kills. So let's have a look. 2 and a 1, so that's done nothing at all. The Germans are really suffering here. They've got to do something desperate to turn this around. Let's see if they can maybe destroy these vehicles, the things. But they do get 3 chain of command points. That takes them up to 4. And then they retain the phase as well. They can't do anything else without any other rolls, so we'll go straight onto that next phase. So 6 on its own in this scenario gives them a chain of command points, so that takes them up to 5 at least. And then they've got junior leader, 2 1s, so that's teams, and also another junior leader. Or they could swap that around and turn it into a senior leader. Okay, the Germans are a bit stuck because their junior leader over on the right flank is he's out of action until the end of the turn, and it's not the end of the turn yet. So they've basically combined some of the dice into a junior leader, a senior leader. They've reduced shock here, and then they are firing at that wagon as it tries to get off that road. So 5s and 6s. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 hits on it this time. And we need 1 more kill to destroy it. But it's in light cover, so 6 are the kills. 4 is shock, so that's another 2 shock on it, but no kills. Well, the Germans just cannot seem to kill that card, no matter what. It's a serious turn again. So 6 alone does nothing. A 5 gives them a chain of command point. That takes them up to 4 now. And then we've got a 4 senior leader, 2 is a section, and 1 is a team. Okay, in the Soviets' turn, they've activated their senior commander. He has got this section to move forward. They just move forward. They're going to fire at the Germans. These ones have moved 2 dice forward, so they can't fire. He's also activated the second wagon to come in and move that forward. That went 4 inches. And they use the team to activate the other wagon, and that's moved forward 1 inch, unsurprisingly at this point. So the firing, it's only half the effect because of the movement. So we're looking at 5s and 6s to hit because of the range. So we're on 1, 2 hits on those 2 teams, but there are 2 leaders in there as well. So the first team on this side, 5 is a kill. So let's see if that's only one of their leaders. No, it's not. And then we have another hit on the other team. A 4 is a shock, so a kill and a shock. Okay, before the Germans roll their dice, they are throwing in the towel. There is no way they can win this situation at this point. They're going to start withdrawing off the table. That means we're going to have to roll for this team over here to see how many of these actually make it off and back into the reserve. This section over here will make it because they're pretty close to their jumping off points anyway. So that's the state of the table at the end of the game, and you can see from the casualty figures where the action took place. So we had the hand grenade assault on the anti-tank gun down here, which went horribly wrong very quickly. I did think that was going to be quite a good attack from the Germans. We've also got a couple of dead over there from the section that came in the centre. And then this is as far the high watermark of the 3rd section here on the left. We also have the position of the gun as well, the infantry gun, which took 3 casualties and had to withdraw. And over here on the Soviets, most of their casualties occurred down here, really. So they lost, quite a few here, apart from the section to the left. But also they managed to get, I'm going to say, they got at least, well, they will have got all 3 of the wagons off because the Germans are withdrawing and unable to close the noose on them in this particular game. So that was a very exciting game of Chain of Command. It could have gone either way right from the start. I don't know what the Germans could have done because that turn end at the start really got rid of their smoke, which put them into an exposed position. given that there's not a great deal of cover on this, there's not much you can do apart from turning it into a protracted gunfight. And if that's the case, then you're just waiting for those wagons to disappear off the table anyway. So, clear Soviet victory on that one. They will be able to bring one of these sections back into the next game when they're refitted with a fresh platoon. So that's going to be even tougher for the Germans in the next game. But I've enjoyed this, as always. Another exciting, excellent game of Chain of Command. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. Please stay tuned for the next instalment of this particular campaign, which is going to be the 6th one. And if you've enjoyed it, please do subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment, say if you enjoyed it. If you haven't enjoyed it, leave me a comment, say you haven't. I don't really, let's start a dialogue. But anyway, thanks for watching. Check me out on Twitter. Check out the Storm of Steel blog, and also check out Storm of Steel Patreon as well if you ever fancy chucking a couple of quid my way a month. But anyway, thanks for that. I'll wrap up here and sort out the casualties after the battle.